En estos momentos vamos a invitar a don Kirill Kubektov, quien tiene su sede en Ginebra, en Suiza. Él trabaja en el Sindicato Internacional de Trabajadores de la Alimentación, IUF. Esta es una federación mundial de sindicatos que representa, entre otros, a los trabajadores del procesamiento de pescado, marisco y de la elaboración de pescado en 125 países. Kirill es el oficial de política de pesca y acuicultura. Él nos estará presentando el tema la perspectiva de los trabajadores dentro de la promoción de condiciones dignas de trabajo en el sector pesquero. Con ustedes, distinguidas y distinguidos participantes, el señor Kirill.
Thank you, Ronaldo. I hope my presentation can be seen on the screen. And first of all, I would like to thank everybody for allowing me to speak English language at this event. It's gonna be international English, not really sophisticated, since I'm originally coming from Russia. I was born in Moscow, and I joined the trade union movement as a worker representative when we were discussing the working conditions and safety issues and decent work concept for the workers in the food industry in Russia, in Eastern Europe. And then I joined the International Organization of Food and Agricultural Workers, IUF in English, or UITA in Spanish. And I'm working for 7 years now, specifically on the issues related to seafood production, fish, and aquaculture. Our organization represents more than 12 million workers employed in all stages of food system. We organize workers from plug to plate or from net to plate when it comes to seafood. And these are the workers which are employed in fish farming, in aquaculture, in fish processing, in distribution, and even in the restaurant chains which serve the seafood and fish products. As it was said, our headquarters is in Geneva, and the organization itself was established more than 100 years ago. It was in the 19th century. Probably before, yeah, it will be correct to say before the UN agencies, all the respectful organizations such as FAO and even ILO appeared on the stage. The workers organizing around the world were actually the driving force for setting up the current system of United Nations, including the ILO, the International Labour Organization, which is responsible for development of labor standards for different sectors. IUF is working jointly with International Transport Workers Federation, and my presentation will be followed by intervention from the colleagues from the ITF. We represent together all the workers in the fish supply chain. The ITF represent the workers on the fishing vessels, and we are in other parts of the chain. But that's important that we cooperate in a strategic partnership, because we can see all the linkages between the workers employed in this sector. And the scope of this sector is very big. It was already mentioned during this workshop that the sector provides livelihoods to almost 1 billion people around the world, and it's really an important contributor to the world employment and to the global system of food production. And for us, it is really important that when we talk about the fish workers or about the fisheries, we don't separate, we don't segregate workers on the fishing vessels from the workers working on the land. After all, everything which is catched in the commercial fishing will be found in the supermarkets or in the restaurants. And there are companies which are operating the whole supply chain. There will be economic dimension, financial dimension. There will be profits generated at the end of the supply chain. And these profits are generated by all the workers, be it on the fish farm, or be it on the fish vessel, or be it on the fish processing. So when we talk about the issues related to fisheries, for us it's important to see the whole system. And when we look at this, especially now and recently in the situation which was caused by pandemic and of COVID-19, what was similar for very many countries is recognition that workers who are employed in this sector are essential workers. The whole world can shut down, but people need to eat. And the world economy and the world population, we need workers who continue to catch the fish, who continue to process it. We know that during the pandemic, the demand for the seafood products was growing in all parts of the world, and in many companies which produce seafood and fish food, they had to add production capacities because of such a big growth of the demand. So all workers were in the sector were considered to be essential, and in many countries we saw banners saying thank you to everybody who is working in processing, in officials, in administration, and shipping and transport. But that was more or less the words, which gave us an opportunity or good reason to look at actually what are the reality of the workers, and to highlight that actually this reality is quite dramatic. We were already talking yesterday about many cases reported about slavery and child labor in this sector, about discrimination, non-payment of wages, and it looks like these problems are quite specifically attached to this sector due to its relation to illegal and unregulated and undeclared fishing. The companies and vessel owners which decided that they will commit an operation which is illegal in terms of environmental standards and protection of bioresources, they will not hesitate to violate human rights and labor rights in whatever part of this supply chain. But at the same time, we've seen horrible situation on the fishing vessels, with fishermen catched on these fishing boats were not able to visit the ports to receive medical aid. And you can see on the right slide, on the right part of the slide, the reality which was faced by fish workers on the fishing vessels. The bodies of the dead from COVID were simply thrown out of the boats. On the left side, you can see other part of the chain. These are the fish workers in one of the very prosperous companies in Nigeria, this photograph in Nigeria, which was closed for the quarantine due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. But workers had absolutely no food resources at home. They were not able to stay at home. Once they stopped working for 1 or 2 or 3 days, their families started to starve. And the food was distributed. There was a special program of distribution of food to the fish workers. That actually highlights the very tragic situation of fish workers, the workers who produce fish, those who feed the world, those who are called essential, are not able to access social security. They're not able to access medical services. They're not able even to have enough resources to feed their families in the case of crisis. And the good news is the workers realizing their dramatic situation started to get together and organize in different countries. I'm supposed to say a few words about the workers' perspective on the promotion of decent working conditions in the whole fisheries sector. And they basically refer to two parts. First of all, we're talking about the corporate responsibility. We believe that companies and corporations, which include not only those who are involved in wild catch operations, but also those who are retail outlets and supermarkets, they all have to be accountable for every single case of violation of human rights or break of the decent work standards. Because after all, it's a system and every company must have a plan on how to address these issues. And this plan must be complex. It has to include both the policy on environmental standards, basically on how you eradicate EU fishing in your operations, and human rights violations. These things come together. And workers have to be included in the process. Yesterday, at one of the presentations, this was the colleague from the International Labour Organization who said, in whatever is happening, we shall not blame the workers. The workers are victims very often of this situation. But workers are not only the victims. We fully agree that they shall not be blamed for whatever illegal operation occurring in their work, but they actually can be a very important source of solution of the problem. Those 60 million people working in this area, they are the best experts to be asked on what needs to be done to improve the situation. They are the first people who are interested to see the sustainable production of the fish. They're the first who will be interested to protect the fish resources, because if there is no fish, they have no job. If they have no job, they have no future. And there is a lot of expertise in the organizations of the workers around the world. And this expertise needs to be included into the discussions. And I'm very happy that IUF and ITF are taking part in this very important series of workshops and discussions at the regional level. We are happy to share this expertise. The question, of course, is how do we enable workers to participate? And this is very important. First of all, it's about the fundamental international labor standards. We were talking a lot about Convention 188, which is very important sectoral convention. ILO has, the International Labour Organization has almost 200 conventions related to different issues. But there is a general consensus that none of these conventions can properly work if the fundamental conventions of ILO are not respected. And these fundamental conventions, they are related to the ban on slavery, the ban of child labor. They relate to measures against discrimination at the workplace and freedom of association. Basically, the recognition of the right of workers to create their own organizations as an instrument to democratically and peacefully change what needs to be changed in terms of the working conditions in the workplace. These conventions are 87 and 98. The workers around the world, and I have now on the screen, I hope you can see the photographs taken in different parts of the world, in Morocco, in Spain and Belgium, in Indonesia, in the Philippines. The workers are trying to exercise the right to organize in trade unions and to raise their demands or their suggestions on how things can be changed piece by piece, workplace by workplace on different stages. If there are organized workers in the seafood and in fisheries in one or another country, they will most probably belong to the international organizations such as IUF or ITF, or in some cases to both. There is no straight definition or competition between the global unions. But these slides, this photograph, they just show that there is a growing understanding by the workers themselves that they need to take action to change their situation. I will just refer to one photograph on the bottom right, the workers of Citramina in the Philippines. That's one of the tuna companies. And that is a very big group of workers who are working on a company which has processing facilities of tuna and also the fishing fleet. And they can work few days on a boat, on the vessel, and few days or few weeks in the processing plant. These workers started to organize when the company decided that they have to increase the production. And they instructed the captain of one of the fishing vessels to go and fish in the Indonesian waters. A Filipino boat went to the Indonesian waters. This vessel was arrested by Indonesian authorities, and several dozens of workers were placed in a prison in Indonesia. They were the victims of the situation. They didn't take the decision to go and do this illegal fishing in external waters, but they were punished for several months. They were placed in a prison, and the company didn't even bother to inform their families about where they are. It was the trade union of the workers of tuna industry in the Philippines which sent a mission to rescue these workers and bring them back home. And workers can't do these things themselves. So in 2015, we believe that this was a year when the first international initiative of the workers from different countries brought together a call for integrated approach towards sustainable fish and seafood production. The workers, they don't divide these two issues. The sustainability and human rights for the sector comes together. And we believe, and the workers believe, they should be part of the process of defining the policies. So yesterday, there was a question asked after the discussion on the ILO standards of how can we enable workers actually to become more active and take their fate in their own hands. There are three things which can be done in every country, and actually which should be done in every country because it's an obligation of every country in accordance to the International Labour Organization conventions, which are fundamental and have to be implemented in all countries. Well, first of all, every country needs a plan to address the deficits. If the workers in seafood and fisheries are not organized in your country, you have to be asking yourself why. What are the obstacles for the workers to get together? Because it's natural for the workers to organize, for both waged workers and for self-employed workers. People want to have an instrument to change their life. If they are not organized, why? You can invite into this discussion the workers from other industries which are organized. And if you don't know whom to contact, please contact us. We will be happy to share with you the contacts. Another thing, so we need the public environment needs to be created for the workers to be able to exercise the rights to organize. And another thing, the companies have to be encouraged to recognize the right of the workers to organize. And here, the regional fishery management organizations and national fishery management organizations can play a very serious role if they decide to consider to condition respect to human rights and to workers' rights with a linkage to the distribution of quota for the fish catch. And that is a powerful instrument which the governments and regional organizations have in their hands in order to improve the situation and empower workers. Here on this slide, I left the websites which you can consult if you need more information and if you need to contact us. On the left, the IUF.org, that is a global website. And we also have a regional organization for Latin America, which has a lot of material in Spanish language that is called REL-UITA. So please contact us if you have any questions. And I would like to, if we still have some time for the discussion of the workers' perspective, I would be very happy if my presentation can be followed by at least a few words by my colleagues from the International Transport Workers Federation, which represent the fishermen on the vessels. Thank you for your attention.
Can I have the floor, please? Yeah. And can I share the screen? Yeah. Thank you for giving me the floor, and thank you for finally managing to join meeting organized by Stella Maris. It took almost 15 years to arrive at the meeting. Quite a great presentation were made yesterday and today, and Kirill explained quite well the general direction of where the unions are going. My name is Rosen Karavachev, and I'm the Fisheries Coordinator of the International Transport Workers Federation. I'm not so good in PowerPoint presentation, and even worse than in Spanish. But for whatever reason, being Eastern European is very popular among the trade unions. I'm Bulgarian myself from Eastern Europe. And we generally, just a few points to add to Kirill, we represent all transport workers worldwide and fishers working abroad, working at sea as part of the supply chain. And in total, we are approximately 20 million members in the 600 or 700 unions all over the world. Not so well represented in the fisheries section. We have a couple of 100,000 members in our fisheries affiliate, but we're looking to improve. But at the same time, we're quite well presented in the merchant marine sector, as some of the government officials in the room will acknowledge. In general, we campaign for better working condition, which in an industry which can be harsh and oppressive to those working outside any proper regulation whatsoever. That's the reality in the industrial and small-scale fisheries. We're working hard to create a fair, safer, and more sustainable future for our fisheries and their workers. We do not discriminate, and we're supporting the fishers all over the world, whether they're union members or not. And we're trying to force the government to act on all allegations of severe exploitation in the fishery sector. We're well presented at the work in the International Government Organization. Some of the colleagues here are well aware of our presence there. They may be not happy with some of our action, and they may be happy with some other actions. Major focus is on our activities is providing assistance through the ITF Flag of Convenience campaign inspector. And in addition, we have created a small but dedicated team called ITF Fish Support Network, where inspectors are spending considerable time and effort to help fishers. In addition, this is one of the places where we are cooperating to the extent possible. It can be improved, but we're trying our best with the Stella Maris, and few of the Stella Maris sisters and brothers are actually part of the ITF Fish Support Network, and we're looking forward to extend and improve the cooperation all over the world. Our inspectorate is 150 members full-time, but our network is well above 1,000 or a couple of thousand contacts dealing with the merchant shipping mainly. At the moment, we're running dedicated targeted campaigns to improve the situation, mainly on the migrant fishers, but also on the local and coastal fishing communities in Thailand, West Africa, Ireland, and UK. And we're trying to help the local organization to create a proper structure to protect vulnerable migrant fishers. Actually, in the moment, we're in the process of building and starting to think how to start the project on the Atlantic coast of Latin America, which is called, the project called is Montevideo project to help assist and improve the situation of migrant fishers who are working on the big industrial fishing vessels in the region. Similar steps are underway. Hopefully something will be started next year on the Pacific Ocean side of the Latin America. In principle, in general, what are the main points? We want to protect the fishers and trying to protect them in endangered industry. We are heavily involved in all the steps taken by the international organizations, either at the International Labour Organization. We were as social partners heavily involved in development of the convention itself and also in the process of promotion. The same at the IMO, we're heavily involved in the process of revision of the STCWF convention and the proper and the promotion of Cape Town Agreement. Not so actively, but we are very strong in support of the FAO Port State Measures Agreement, and we are campaigning the regimes of the IMO, ILO, and FAO to be done in coordinated manner. So that coordination to take place between the port state control and safety of fishing vessels by the IMO, working and living conditions by the ILO, and sustainable fisheries practices by the FAO. Again, fighting to stop abuse of the fishers and fish workers. We are heavily involved in trying to stop, to the extent possible, any human trafficking in fishing. And then yesterday, the question was raised how information is collected. Quite a lot of information for abandoned and abused fishers is actually provided to the international organization by the ITF itself. Then recently the IMO decided to look together with the ILO on the taking steps to collect information about abandoned fishers and abandoned fishing vessels. We are really focused on to make sure that flag states are taking their responsibility seriously on the working and living conditions, and also to prevent the illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Trying to adapt to 21st century, we're also adopting our flex of convenience policy for the merchant shipping, and we're developing new ITF flex of non-compliance policy, which hopefully will lead to the proper campaign in the next couple of years. Besides working, as Kirill said, quite well with the IUF. How you can contact us, it's fish support at ITF.UK is where complaints about the mistreatment of fishers should be sent. If general questions about the fisheries are raised, it's the fisheries at ITF or UK. And if general questions about the trade union movement are asked, it's the mail at ITF or UK. Then the good news is that recently we realized that we're lacking presence and resources to support Spanish-speaking world. And Chris Williams is now our contact points for the Spanish-speaking world operating out of London. And we're looking forward for the second stage of this workshop when it takes place in person. I'm sure that Chris will be happy to go back to the countries which he worked many years ago. And if you allow me to give a few minutes to Chris to say something.
Muchas gracias, Rosen. Buenos días, compañeras y compañeros. Mi nombre es Chris Williams. Soy de Inglaterra y desde febrero estoy trabajando por el ITF en la sección de pesca. Como oímos, el ITF es una federación de gremios y nosotros representamos unos 18 millones de marineros y marineras, y también tenemos miembros que son pescadores comerciales, pero todavía son mucho menos que los marineros, pero esperamos que podemos crecer los miembros pesqueros en el futuro. El ITF tiene unos 670 gremios afiliados alrededor del mundo, en unos 147 países, y el trabajo del ITF es ayudar y juntar los sindicatos y gremios de pesca alrededor del mundo, y especialmente para firmar esos convenios colectivos con los dueños de barcos o empresas en la pesca industrial. Nuestro punto focal ahora es que mejorar las condiciones de pescadores migrantes, y la necesidad de mejorar su situación de trabajo es muy urgente. Tenemos una red de 150 inspectores y el Fish Support Network, como oímos de Rosen, y queremos incrementar nuestro trabajo en el Caribe y en la región de Centroamérica. Queremos trabajar junto con ustedes, y yo y otros compañeros van a ser los contactos en la zona. Y personalmente he trabajado como investigador y en proyectos comunitarios de pesca sostenible por unos 3 años en la región. Principalmente era en las islas de Bahía en Honduras, y también en las zonas de pesca industrial por la langosta y caracoles en el Caribe, pero también he viajado en México, Belice, Nicaragua y otras partes de Centroamérica, y también 1 año y medio en América del Sur, principalmente en Ecuador, y tengo algún conocimiento de los problemas de la pesca ilegal, el impacto del narcotráfico y la realidad de trabajo por los pescadores. Estaba en esos barcos industriales por algunos días y he visto las condiciones subhumanas, podemos decir, en algunas partes. Y bueno, entonces espero que podamos comunicar y organizar juntos para mejorar la situación para pescadores nacionales y migrantes en el futuro. Y voy a mandar mi correo en el chat también, y espero que podamos mantener contacto y empezar o algunos proyectos juntos en el futuro. Muchísimas gracias.
Ok, muchas gracias a Kirill, a Chris y a Rosen por su participación y sus explicaciones sobre el trabajo que vienen realizando en soporte a los pescadores y a las pescadoras. Acá tenemos un par de preguntas en el chat y las quisiera compartir. Uno, según las normas internacionales, ¿qué cantidad de trabajadores son los indicados en una embarcación de 19 metros de eslora, 6 metros de manga, 2 metros de puntual y 1.2 metros de calado? ¿Y cuánto tiempo es el indicado para estar en alta mar?
the questions for me. Staying at sea, it's
Agradecemos por favor a los participantes mantener su micrófono cerrado de manera que podamos escuchar los panelistas. Por favor, señor Rosen.
From our interpretation of the ILO Working Fishing Convention, the fishers are supposed to be employed on board the vessel for no more than a year. If we want to be more precise, the duration of stay at sea, the way ITF interprets the convention, should be no more than 10 months. And we are in the agreement with the European Fishing Vessel Owners Organization, that's the case. If you're speaking how much they have to stay at sea without seeing the shore, I believe, and we're in the process of making proper justification, that no one should stay at sea without rest on shore or in port for more than 3 months, because this way he'll be able to recover a little bit. We believe that staying at sea for 6 months, a year, or 2 years is inhumane and endanger the lives of the fishers themselves. Us seeing the coast. Last year, quite a few of them are already dead. Because of that doesn't, if we campaign to get us, if you're speaking many issues, the ITF headquarters are focusing on the vessels of 24 meters and above, where the international standards are applicable. Well, the national organization mostly speak if you want to have some threshold of the vessels of 12 meters and above. And then for vessels fishing further away from the coastline, in order to allow for artisanal fishermen to make a living. And then we believe that there should presented worldwide by international themselves. Thank you.
Ok. Muchas gracias, señor Rosen, por su respuesta. Otra pregunta. ¿Se ha considerado la intermediación, esto es la venta de pescado a intermediarios, como parte de la problemática económico-social? ¿Y qué alternativas consideran se podrían proponer desde su visión?
Excuse me, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Si se considera la venta de pescado a intermediarios como un problema económico y social, ¿y qué alternativas se proponen desde su visión?
That is a very good question, which is not only relevant to the fisheries, but in general to agriculture. And since we have many colleagues working for FAO, they know that the question of how do you build labor relations in a situation when you have not only the owner or the boss and the workers, but intermediaries, especially if the workers are self-employed. There are several models for that developed in different and projected in different parts of the world. They're also part of the overall expertise which exists within the International Labour Organization. The answer is basically collective bargaining. If we have a fisherman who is self-employed or who works with his family, and he sells his catch, his harvest to someone, there should be a contract, in the best case, a written contract, which will not be very beneficial for this individual person or for this individual family, unless this individual comes in a collective with others and demand or request that we all develop our standards, and we say we will not agree to less than what is agreed collectively. And that is the way for the workers, be it self-employed or waged workers, to gain enough power to confront the power of intermediaries and the power of the companies which are actually benefiting at the end. In our practice in the IUF, we have several good examples when we were signing collective agreements between the workers who, first of all, should agree that they have to have a collective agreement, not individual, the intermediaries, and the companies which are buying the harvest at the end. And when these three sides come together, that becomes a model for constant improvement and for the workers to have an ability to influence. In very many cases, we have to say that this model cannot be developed without sort of support from the state authority, which should actively promote this model of labor relations. But of course, in every individual case, there can be different approaches. And I'm sure that also our colleagues, which represent small-scale fishers, will know examples of how this can be dealt with. But generally speaking, the power of intermediaries can only be confronted with the power of united fishermen, be it self-employed or waged. I hope I answered the question. Alternatives always exist. We just need to look for them.
Muchas gracias por su respuesta, muy interesante. Hay un comentario en el chat sobre la llamada a la atención a la protección social. Y claro que sí, creo que consideramos importante la atención a la protección social, que establece pautas, ¿verdad?, para la seguridad en el mar y la atención a los pescadores. Es una de las cosas que estamos viendo en la región, que es necesario y cómo se puede fortalecer esa seguridad social. Félix.
No, I wanted to add to what Kirill was saying. Alternatives do exist. I agree with that fully. Another example of how you say it, fronting these intermediaries is not only maybe collective bargaining, but there is an example, for instance, in Southern Africa, where a platform has been developed where fishers offer their fish on that platform, and buyers can buy directly from the fishers. So I think organization is key. There I agree, but then how to bargain prices and so on, that is up to fishers and fish workers themselves to to be creative, and there are many examples of this creativity all over the world. I know something similar also happened in Sri Lanka during COVID. Nobody could go to the market. So what did the fishers do, or what did the fisher organization do? They made a platform where people could show the product that they had caught, and then people could buy it. Either it would be through auction or through the price that the fishers set themselves. So intermediaries, they also have a role to play, I think. But if they are not fair, then they can be also confronted by collective bargaining, or having platforms where fishers offer their products directly. Maybe my colleague Daniela Kalikowski wants to clarify or elaborate a bit on her comment on social protection, Reynaldo. Thank you. I don't know if she's still there.
No, por lo visto, Daniela iba a hacer alguna intervención. Bueno, hay un comentario de Copesolidaridad que los invitamos a ver. Para cerrar este bloque, por favor, Mr. Kagri.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the presentations, especially on the fishers' right to live and work properly on board fishing vessels. My question goes to probably ITF. So I know that the IMO's SCAT team, that is Seafarers Crisis Action Team, is working for the seafarers working on commercial ships, and the P&I clubs, protection and indemnity clubs, play a major role. And I wonder whether the fishing vessels, P&I clubs, are kicking in case of abandonment of the fishing vessel crew. Thank you.
Okay. I haven't been, it's a very good proposal actually for the ITF to pursue in the future, to put the P&I club and organization which provide insurance to the fisheries section to sit on the table and to speak about the main principle. I already, well, the other part of the question about the abandonment, what to be done. It was a decision just recently taken by the IMO. It was just a month ago, where they decided to take the issue of the welfare of fishers seriously, and to begin to think about measures to improve the situation and collect data on the abandoned and abused fishers. And then, but then I'm saying that the report came out 40 days ago, and this one is still to reach the ILO, and IMO is to contact ILO mainly. And the same story happened that this may be put on the agenda of the joint working group of FAO, IMO, ILO working group on the IUF fishing and related matters. Is the same, in principle, decision was taken to endorse the work of the group, and the terms of reference were drafted and looked by the member states of the IMO, and then these are to reach the FAO and ILO, and hopefully next year we'll see Christina and Felix at the joint working group, and maybe that can be one of the items on the agenda, provisional agenda, which is extremely good proposal. I hope that Felix will pick it up too. Christina, there is no problem. Christina, I believe in dialogue.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por sus participaciones. Queremos compartir la invitación de Copesolidar para que revisen su Facebook y puedan ver las experiencias del mercado del mar que ellos han realizado en este tema. De esta manera cerramos este bloque, agradeciéndoles a los panelistas y a ustedes su asistencia. Vamos a tomar ahora un receso y estaremos retornando, por favor, puntual a las 10:45 horas centroamericana, 11:45 hora de Panamá y sería a las 6:45 hora de Roma. Por favor, tenemos 5 minutos para receso y lo esperamos dentro de 5 minutos. Por favor, puntualitos para reiniciar este seminario. Muchas gracias.